so many times do I hear people, they talk about you have to have confidence, you have to have confidence, you have to no, you have to have courage.
Ooh.
Fear is not the enemy, fear is the opportunity.
Welcome back to another episode of the Sales Gravy Podcast. I'm Brad Adams, guest hosting for Jeb today as he travels around the country delivering legendary keynotes and trainings to our clients for their sales kickoffs. I'm absolutely thrilled today to have our special guest, Dawnna St. Now, Dawnna is the co-founder and the sales dynamo of Fire Savvy. And as you're going to see, her enthusiasm is absolutely infectious. In fact, if you're driving and listening to this right now, you may want to pull over. We have some common connections as she was introduced to me by one of my clients, Michael Bentley, and he's the sales director at TransFinder. And oddly enough, about 30 minutes ago, Dre Baldwin walked out the door of the Sales Gravy Studios. And Dre Baldwin is, in his own right, an amazing individual, and he created some content for the Sales Gravy University platform, which all of our current and hopefully some of you future participants in will be able to listen to that content and help to grow your sales. But strangely enough, Dawnna St. was a mentor of Dre, and I can't wait to hear that story, Dawnna. But first, why don't you tell me a little bit about your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for having me here. This is going to be fun. I got the soap. I washed out my mouth. So I'm going to wash my mouth the whole time. It's going to be hard, but I'm going to do it. It's not like it's Tourette's or anything. Anyway, so I actually was homeless when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
I got into tech quite by accident. I am one of those people who could pick up a book, read it, figure it out, and apply what's there. Been able to do that pretty much all my life. Got into tech. Myself and a friend of mine became co-founders of a business intelligence company when business intelligence wasn't cool. So way back then, and people really didn't know what it was. They thought we were spying on other companies. It was really interesting how many companies wanted to hire us to do that. And I'm like, God, I think that might be illegal. But that's really it's really what they were interested in. But business intelligence was all about helping executives make better decisions. Our tagline was that we predict the future of business. Our competitors used to say that we create the future of business because they were really mad at us and thought we manipulated numbers, but we didn't. We're good people. Of course not. Yeah. Anyway, I did that until I was 39. And right when we could see that there was a big shift about the change in the target in the market, we decided that we wanted to sell. We had a choice. We could either ride out another big woof, or we could sell. And at that time, we decided to sell. So we sold for $250 million when I was 39. And then right after that, I decided to go to school. Thought maybe I should get a degree or something. So I got a degree in IT. And people kept asking me to come speak. So I became this international speaker, but specifically, they were very interested in my views on sales and how I really grew this company because it was my job to handle the money-making part of it. Like, how did I do that without having this significant sales background? And the bottom line was I created a methodology that really was for people who were experts in their industry and not necessarily just sales professionals.
Well, fantastic. So I guess you had enough money to go back to school after selling the company, huh?
Well, a couple of dollars here and there.
So how did you meet Dre?
So Dre sent me an email or a text message or something and said that he had some questions around speaking. And I told him, cool, you want to meet me at Starbucks and we could talk about it? And he's like, sure. And let me tell you, this man is a prolific note taker. And so I sat there, he asked me a couple of questions. I literally just poured into him. I think 15 minutes turned into 3 hours. And then I remember saying, is any of this helpful at all? Are you getting anything? And he turned his thing around. He had 100 pages of notes. He goes, all of it is. And then after that, we started meeting pretty much on a regular basis in regards to just, speaking and sales and business and all of that, because, he was an international basketball player. So it was really cool to kind of mentor someone coming into this space.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I see that your background, you obviously help a lot of entrepreneurs like Dre.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a great focal point of yours and your partners. So if I was an entrepreneur, if I was starting my own business today, and we actually have a lot of those in our community at Sales Gravy and a lot of listeners to this podcast, what are some of the things? What are some of the potholes that you can see around the corner for them, and what are some of the techniques and tricks that you would provide them, the tips that you would give them if you were maybe newly minted or thinking about starting a business for yourself?
So, one of the things that I talk a lot about is kind of like the differences between how men come out and how women come out, just so people can understand when I give advice that sometimes I'm going to give advice and I'm going to be very specific to a certain gender just because they're doing things differently. Here's the one thing that I can tell you for sure. Before you go and hang out that shingle, right? Before you go do that, the first thing that you want to do is learn how to sell. And I know that sounds like extremely self-serving, but I swear it's not. And let me tell you the difference. When we work with a lot of experts who come out of the box, the first thing they want to do is they want to hang their shingle. And they're like, if I build it, they will come. And then they find that they're spending all this money in marketing and advertising, things they weren't expecting to do. And all of a sudden, they realize that they're getting leads that they can't close. They thought they were going to be a glorified order taker. The ones that we see that are the most successful generally started with a sales background. And then they figured out how to be an expert. And then they figured out how to market, right? So the ones that are the most successful know how to sell. They can pretty much sell anything. So I would say start there, learn how to sell, regardless of what it is. I don't care if you're selling ice or if you're selling pill bottles or if you're selling your expertise. Learn how to sell first, then leverage your expertise, but don't hang out that shingle before you know how to sell.
I have a client that sells pill bottles. It's so funny that you randomly selected that. That's so funny.
Did I tell you I was in business intelligence? I'm just kidding.
I know. It's like you're sneaking on my LinkedIn or something.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. Know how to sell first. Then the second thing is, if you want more commas in your bank account, you got to take them out of your expertise.
Whoa. Hold on a second. Hold on. Say that again, please. That was an awesome saying. That's a great Dawnna-ism, and I hope to get a lot of those today. Say that one more time, please.
Yes. If you want more commas in your bank account, you got to take them out of your expertise. No one cares about the commas and the PhDs and everything, the letters behind your name. They really, really care about the one thing you're going to do for them and that you're going to do extremely well. What is that one area of expertise that you can go into? If you were a lot more dumber, it'd be a lot more easier. But you're smart. You know way too many things. So you have to pick one thing, and then crush it.
I love that. I probably paraphrasing this, but one of the quotes that I absolutely love to say, and in fact, I just said this in a training today, and it's a quote from Einstein. He says, "True genius is the art of making the complex simple, not the simple complex." And
Exactly.
and you really have to, when you have someone who's so in the weeds with their expertise, they struggle to connect that to the common minions like myself, right?
Right.
And I also share with a lot of the people that I train, on some level, your clients are narcissists. They care about what they care about, and if you can't figure that out, they're not going to listen to you. It doesn't matter how many commas and letters you have behind your name, like you said. That's a really good point, Dawnna.
It's a really big difference between, even when whether we're talking about having an amazing offer or marketing or whatever, it's the difference between using an expert-centered language and a client-centered language. And so many times when I'm talking to my experts, they want to show people how much of an expert they are. And I go, they Googled you, they already know. So now they don't care. They really want you to talk to them about them. So get them talking. You really want to do that.
So the expert language versus the client language, like, what are some tricks around that?
So clients aren't experts, right? So I want you to imagine that, you're a doctor and I come in and go, my elbow's hurting. I really need you to give me Valium. Right? I'm not an expert. I don't know that I need Valium, right? So either I got a problem or you're going to be out of a license, but we don't know that I need Valium for my for my. So no matter how much people go on WebMD, they don't really know what's going on. So you, as the doctor, need to be the person asking the question. So one of the ways that we really help people with client-centric language is by telling them to shut up.
No holds barred. I love it.
No, it's
Just shut
really
up.
easy. Just shut up. Stop talking.
Stop freaking talking. Let the customer talk.
Let the customer talk. So I'm gonna attempt to be very well behaved when I explain this part.
Okay.
It's so difficult. Generally, when we talk about this, we really talk about this in terms of dating, right?
Okay.
And the person who talks the most is the person who falls in love. And if you were to talk to any dating coach, and let's say he was coaching a woman, he'd say, all you really have to do is show up and look cute and shut up. The guy's going to do all the talking. And the more he talks, the more he falls in love. It's the same thing if you go on a date. If two people go on a date and one person speaks for 2 hours and 45 minutes and one person speaks for 15 minutes, the person who talked for 2 hours and 45 minutes has taken your faces, put them together to find what your children are going to like. They're doing ancestry DNA stuff. They're setting up your family tree before you even gotten together. They got a house. They got the picket fence. They've even designed the dogs, right? They've done everything because they've fallen in love. So if you as a salesperson will shut up, you can get your clients to fall in love.
I love that. I love that. I had somebody reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll just, if I don't mind, I'm going to jump in with a quick story. I had somebody reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I booked a meeting with them. And I said, I mean, it's a good discovery question, but it's nothing otherworldly. But I said, hey, I'm curious why we're talking today. We all say that as salespeople, right?
Yeah.
Well, about 8 minutes, and this was a phone call, about 8 minutes in the conversation, he was just talking. And so I was like, man, I got to put myself on mute or I'm going to screw this up by talking, because I wanted to talk too. And then about 14 minutes, I moved the phone out of reach, because like I'm just like having a wrestling match with my hand to take myself off mute. And then, true story, 32 minutes later, he stopped talking. And then he said, I'd like to hire you to train my sales team. And if you think about it, I mean, you and I know that why this happened, because he fell in love, right? But in the reality, it's a silly thing that happened, that this person wanted me to train his people, and he trusted me because he talked at me for 32 minutes. But I had the intuition to just shut up and stay out of his way while he talked himself into falling in love with me, in a business sense. And it's so true what you say.
Yeah, they will talk themselves into the sale if you let them. But first, you have to be quiet. And the question that we use to open up the conversation is, what's going on in your world that got us on the phone today?
Yeah.
Right. And if it's a cold call, my favorite is, I had this gentleman ask me this. It was called Stomp Dawnna Day. It was so much fun. And he said, okay, I got one. So I finally get them on the phone, and they say, I only got 5 minutes. He goes, what am I going to say to that? They didn't call me. And I go, what's going on in your world that you would give me 5 of your valuable minutes to talk about whatever the topic is?
Well done.
I'm like, whatever they gave you is what you're going to put in that what's going on in your world statement. Right. Whatever they gave you, use it.
And then it's 35 minutes later.
35 minutes later, and they're going,
wow, I've talked a lot.
So what I want to do is hire you. That's what happens.
That's so great. So awesome. So I got to dive in a little bit. So you can see behind me, sell more. Like that's our hashtag. That's our mantra. That's what we do here. And as a student of the game, I want to learn from you on how to sell more. So you mentioned that in our conversation before, that women did some things just naturally better than men do. And would you mind sharing with me some of those things? And I know that you work with people, you work with blended classes and so forth and so on. But like, how do you approach that in a classroom environment? What do women do that are so exceptional? And how can How can men emulate that to make them
Okay.
better?
So when I teach sales to women and men, I teach sales to women as if they're dating because women naturally know how to attract,
Okay.
right? They naturally know how to attract. They naturally know how to be coy. They know how to be good listeners. They know how to nurture a conversation. They know how to ask really good questions. When I teach the same thing to men, I literally walk in and I mean, it is a class of men. And I said, I'm going to teach you all how to be gigolos.
Oh, goodness.
Uli, are you taking that off? No, I'm just kidding. But I teach them, I said, I'm going to teach you how to be alluring, how to attract people in, how to bring them in, how to be the most interesting man in the world, how to walk in with confidence, and how to do it all without talking.
Mm, I would
Right?
fail. I'm getting an F in that class. I can tell you right now.
Because men want to convince. They naturally want to convince. I want to convince you that I'm right. I want to compete. And by the way, I have very masculine tendencies. So this is something I had to learn to do. So I'm just telling you right now, I'm highly competitive. I tell people all the time, do not let the nails and the lashes fool you. I will take you down. I'm super competitive, right? So I had to learn this too. So when I'm teaching it to men, I'm really teaching them like, no, I'm going to show you how to do this because I get it. Most of my clients have been men because I'm like, I'm going to show you this way. And that way is, how do you attract? How do you draw them in? How do you get them talking? Like you said, I was wrestling with the button, right? I would be wrestling with the button too. I would have to take the phone and throw it across the room not to say anything.
Except then you couldn't have heard his answer.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't have mattered because all I would have needed to hear was the end, which was, I can't wait to work with you.
Right. Brad, you still there?
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what are some of the pitfalls that men kind of do? And I realize that not everybody does. We can be trained out of these. We can be trained into these.
Masculine, feminine, yeah.
But as you see some of these things, what are some commonalities that you see? What is the old way, shall we say?
So it's kind of the old kind of cringy way is hyping, over inflating, and using confusion a bit, standing up and showing that I'm better than you. It's almost like competing with the client. Let me show you that I'm the expert and I know everything. And I'm going to do a little bit of confuse and overwhelm. So now you realize that the only way you can get out of this is for me to help you. Right. It's a way for them to walk in and be a savior. That's a very old fashioned way of doing things. Today, we want to make the person that's on the other side feel like they are the reluctant hero of the journey, that they are super brilliant. And what they're about to do is make the smartest decision ever.
Gotcha.
So that's a big difference. And I'll give you an example of the old way that I remember happened to me. Way back in the day, let me go ahead and age myself gracefully. Way back in the day, this guy was selling vacuum cleaners. I can't remember the brand, but he was selling vacuum cleaners. He came in and I had his competitor's vacuum cleaner. And he proceeded to tell me what a stupid decision I made for buying that vacuum cleaner.
That is such a mistake.
Right? And but it's an old fashioned way of doing things because he wanted to show himself as brilliant.
So that's cognitive dissonance right there. And what you do when somebody does that, there's only two things that can happen. Thing number one is you're saying I'm an idiot and I make terrible decisions, right? And nobody wants to hear that. It just backs them into a corner, and they just their emotional reactants come out, and there's just no way. There's no way to win from that. Like, that person shuts you down. That is so stupid. For those of you out there that are telling about how your competitors are worse at don't do that.
Don't do that.
Get rid of it.
Just don't.
It's not a good.
But that's a very old. But we've seen it so much because that's cringe. So when I talk about cringe, I'm talking about that old-fashioned, old guru way of making the client feel like they're not brilliant. This new way is recognizing You as a sales pro are a guide, that your client is the reluctant hero, and that what you have to offer is the elixir.
Gotcha. So it's interesting that you said that, because I was going to ask you this question anyway, but you shared with me who the OG salesperson was. Who is the OG salesperson of all time?
Wait, the OG
The
sales,
original, the very first salesperson ever in the history of humanity.
Eve.
Why Eve?
Eve was the first sales pro, and if you really even read in the book, she sold the benefits. She's like, dude, you're going to be able to see, you're going to know there's going to be good and evil. We're going to wear some boss ass outfits. Like, Eve was the first sales pro.
That's so
and
funny.
Adam's dad was like, don't do it. He's like, I don't know. Eve's kind of fine. She got this fruit. I think I'm going to give it a shot. It's just a bite. Eve sold the benefits, man. Come on.
She sold the demo, and that's all it needed to happen, right?
There you go. Sold the demos. Think about it. Even though his dad was like, you're going to get in really bad trouble, he's like,
I don't care.
But the benefits, the benefits. It was the 80-20. Eve had the 80.
It goes back to that allure and that attracting and that compelling, like coy, and just, she was working on him for a while, I guess, to get him to that point. That's so funny. So Dawnna, what is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote, which egotistically is a self-quote.
Okay, it's fair.
Which is, you came this far, now you have to have the testicular fortitude and the ovarian audacity to continue going for
it. What? Walk me through that.
Because so many times do I hear people, they talk about, you have to have confidence, No, you have to have courage. Ooh. Fear is not the enemy, fear is the opportunity. Right? Okay. So you come this far through all of these fears. You've taken these courageous steps. Now you just need to have just a little bit more testicular fortitude or ovarian audacity to go for it. Because on the other side of that activity, you're going to find out like, oh, that wasn't so scary, and you can do even more.
Wow. I love that. I feel like 500 years from now that there's going to be some Dawnna-isms on whatever the medium of communication is. In the future. So I like that. I'll give you the credit, but I might have to say that in the future.
Say it.
Awesome.
Say it often.
Awesome.
I want people to have courage to go for things, right? We had so much courage before the age of 7, and then it's kind of like, just beaten out of us. And if we could get back to having that courage, we would do so much more to change the world. Seriously.
Awesome. One more thing I want to go through today, and this was interesting. So I read about the gauntlet of disqualification. Now, one of the things I tell my clients all the time is like, your sales team wastes so much money on chasing dead deals. Jeb is an avid horseback rider, and he says if the horse is dead, dismount. And,
do not do CPR on a dead lead. Do not do CPR on a dead lead.
Don't do CPR on a dead lead, but it's part of your 4-step process: light side, dark side, gauntlet of disqualification, which you have the acronym of God, and then the next step. Walk me through what that looks like. I mean, you don't have to divulge all your training secrets, but walk me through that a little bit, because I thought it was a really interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, this is my favorite. This is God, right? And so I always say God determines whether or not you're going to get the gift or not, right? So here's how it really works. What happens is, on the dark side, we let the client do the talking. We really get an understanding of them. And you know what? If you're an expert and you're worth, 2 grains of salt, then you can recognize, based on what the client has told you, what offer, what solution would be right for them. You have an idea if you've been doing if you're an expert in what you do. And so what happens normally is someone calls and they go, I am really interested in X. I saw X on the website and I'm ready to buy. And then salespeople who don't know what they're doing go, oh my God, you're interested? Let me tell you everything. And they basically like verbal vomit all over the person, and it's horrible. So what we go is, no, this is not the time. You're not giving up anything. You have the gift. Remember, they're the reluctant hero. You think you are the guy, and there is a magical elixir, but you have to make sure that this reluctant hero deserves a magical elixir. So first, they have to go through the gauntlet of disqualification: time, effort, and money. Are they going to put in the time? No matter who you are, you need something from your client, even if it's the time to drive to the spa appointment and show up on time and schedule an appointment, right? Time. Are they going to put in the time? Mm-hmm. Second, are they going to put in the effort? There are certain things they have to do. Even if you're going to a spa appointment, you got to lay on the table. Like, they're not going to lift you up. Like, you have to do certain things. What do you need for your client to do? And then finally, investment, the money. Do they have the money to actually invest in the solution? Before you even share the solution, you need to make sure that they've gone through the gauntlet of disqualification, so that way you can deliver a pre-qualified offer.
The elixir.
The elixir.
I
exactly.
Like that. Well done. Yeah. Well done.
Pre-qualified. A lot of times we're making offers to people who aren't qualified to take them. And then we struggle with being ghosted. We're living in follow-up hell. They have no skin in the game to get back on a call with us. They're done because we made an offer before we qualified the client. So we want to make pre-qualified offers, not just offers.
I like that. They could also be, you could also be vendor number 3 walking in the door where their boss said, "Hey, I need 3 quotes," and you were just one of those, and a lot of heartache and heartbreak with just being a quote machine for somebody when you don't even really know if they are in fact qualified. I love that. Anything that you'd like to say before we wrap up, and then I also want you to share how somebody might get a hold of you as well. So, any final thoughts before we wrap things up today?
Not a one. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say no. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying what you're selling me. But you drew me in with your coyness. I mean, well done. See how that works, guys?
There we go.
Everybody?
So if there is one piece of advice that I want to give is stop selling the process during your sales calls and demos. Don't do it. And I see it all the time where people are going, and you can hear it when you say it. First, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. If you find yourself going first, second, third, stop. You're selling too much of the process. What you really want to do, and here's a way to think about it. People don't want more treadmilling, squatting, or sitting up. They want that ass and those jeans. Make sure you're selling the benefits and the results of what they really, really want.
I love it. Dawnna, how would people get a hold of you?
They can go to salessuperstar.net, and if they do that, they'll actually be able to download that little handy dandy PDF that I sent you that actually takes them through the 4-step sales process, because we make it easy. You do not need 5,782 hours worth of content. You need 4 steps and follow them. Just follow them.
Keep it
and they
simple.
really do work.
Keep it simple. Awesome. Dawnna has given us some amazing tips today, and if you want to continue your sales growth, simply go to learn.salesgravy.com and put in the code free course so that you can try us out today. Over 300 courses by over 40 sales experts and growing every single day.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to click like and subscribe so you never miss a single video. And if you want more sales training content, go to learn.salesgravy.com.